Sometimes you feel like the whole world you know is just collapsing around you. You don't know how to feel. You don't know what to do. Every distraction just feels like infinite hell. Because that's exactly what your mind will do. Your mind will accept a familiar hell much quicker than it will accept an unfamiliar heaven. Your mind is all about safety and knowing. It will do whatever it has to do to keep you safe. The way I've been feeling recently, I couldn't tell you how long I felt this way. Perhaps my entire life. Perhaps it just begun. I mean, you don't really know. But it's not a desirable feeling. It's not something I would honestly put anybody through. You know, our brains, something that I've been realizing recently, our brains, our hard work, our network, our brains are not really wired to be happy. You know, it doesn't really know what that is. It is designed, like I said before, to keep you safe. You know, to keep you in this, doing the same things, doing what you know, making sure that everything's all right. But the truth is, everybody, that's not living. It's merely surviving. Surviving in a routine that you never questioned once. You know, and maybe that's good. Maybe that's bad. You know, maybe you have nothing that you care about, but the truth is you do. You know, if you could just look around, your animals, your friends, if you have any, you're lucky to even have one person in this life that genuinely cares about you. That's the messed up part. You see, everybody, that after death, after you lose somebody, life continues. You know, when you lose somebody and they're still alive, it's kind of like they're dead, but they're not. You know they're still out there. You know they're still living their own life. You know they're probably happy. You know, but it's impossible to know. It's impossible to know the truth because you're always looking from the outside. Never once knowing the actual reality, because the truth is, everybody, it will only ever be right now. And you'll do everything in your power to not do what you actually have to do, what's important. You know, so you'll lay down, you'll scroll, you'll doom scroll. You know, maybe you'll drink a little, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, then a little bit more, and then you'll forget, and then you'll keep going, and then eventually you'll slowly fade to black, and then the credits will play, and then eventually you don't know what you're doing. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you've become. You let that silence control you. You let it take over. You know, you lose sight of all the things that really matter. You know, you lose sight of your family. You lose sight of your friends. You lose sight of anything that brings you any kind of joy. Because all you could think about is how the world would be better off if you weren't here. But it's not true. You know, life is exactly like an endless show. You know, and you're the star. You know, you're not actually the star. You're not actually a main character. But you're all you'll ever see. You know, I'm not going to see what Mr. Beast is doing or whatever. I don't even know why I said his name, because he's the first person that came to my head. Because you're not going to be able to see anybody else's brain or view besides your own. You know, and that's what's weird. You know, that when you get older, well, things start to get serious. You know, whenever you're 45 and death is right around the corner, that's exactly what everybody tries to do. You know, it's not that you're addicted to the drinking. You're not addicted to the smoke. You're addicted to escaping your own self. You know, you're addicted to escaping. You know, so you'll do everything in your power to escape. You know, whether that's drink, whether that's sleep, whether that's... Well, they're not healthy things, are they? They're not. You know, but the truth is, what is there to think about anyway? You know, when you really start to think about it, let's look at my cat. You don't need to think about anything, do you? No. She just exists. She doesn't need anything else. You know, let go and let the world. You know, just be. You don't have to be anything for anybody. Just be okay. Nobody has it figured out. Nobody has it all figured out, okay? Most people are miserable with themselves. Even the people that seem to have it all figured out, the people that have influence, the people that have money, the people that have power, they're no different than me. They're no different than you. Every single human being will have to experience death at some point. Every single human being will eventually have to go. I mean, you look at the world around us. You see things appear and disappear all the time. What makes you think you'll be any different? Eventually soon you'll be a memory. And then soon after that, if you're lucky, you'll be forgotten eventually. It's almost like you've never existed at all. But you did. You tried your best to try your best. You went out there. You did what you could. You didn't care about the time, because the truth is, everybody, you can't be ahead of time. You can only ever do. But I'll tell you right now, if you get out there and you do it now, you will always have time. But if you are scared, you will always be scared. If you are scared now, you will be scared always. To get something that you've never had, you must do something that you've never done. You see, everybody, you are in control. You're not just a passenger to your own existence. You're not taking a back seat. Your life is worth living. It is. Be proud. I don't have to know you to be proud of you. Even if nobody else is. I'm proud of myself. I am proud of you. Give yourself some grace. Be the person you wish you had. You cannot love yourself, and you cannot hate yourself into loving yourself, everybody. Not how it works, okay? You cannot self-criticize. You cannot self-hate, self-loathe. You can't. Even if it's fake. You have to give yourself a little bit of grace. Be proud of yourself. Love yourself a little bit. Talk to yourself as if you were talking to somebody else, like your best friend or a family member or something. I can't tell you why life happens. I can only tell you that it does. I can't tell you why you have to go someday. I could just tell you that you have to. Maybe it's time to come to terms with all the things that you can't do. Because you spend every day trying to keep the house clean, keep everybody happy. But the truth is, those things are temporary. When you set apart the important stuff, the traveling, the doing, the dreams, the passions, just to settle for something. And the actual truth is, you can't choose your parents. You can't choose who you are. You can't choose where you're born. But you know what you can choose? You can choose one family member. You can choose who you get with. Your husband, your wife, whoever that may be. Your best friend. Don't settle for someone that does not see your value. You see, everybody, it is going to be hard for you to be positive if you are around people that do not understand your value. If you are around people that don't understand your value, you are never going to feel valued. Go where you are celebrated, not where you are tolerated. You see, everybody, if you have a negative life, it is going to be impossible to have a positive mind. But if you have a negative mind, it will be impossible to have a positive life. It's a weird paradox, a weird rabbit hole, but I promise you, everybody, rock bottom is not where you lay. It is where you decide to stop digging. You see, everybody, whether you want to admit it or not, you have energy. Whether you're using that energy to climb out or whether you're using that energy to dig that metaphorical hole, you have energy. How are you using it? Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can be transferred. Your pain, your suffering, it might not be able to just disappear, but you can put it into something else. You could put it into a video. You could put it into a journal. There's a reason, everybody, why human beings attach themselves to this. To self-creation, to writing, to making books, to creating games, to making videos, to whatever it is you do, to singing, to acting. Because we are trying to understand something that we cannot quite understand ourselves. And there's no amount of language, there's no amount of action that is going to be able to show you who I am or who you are. Human language, human action is limited. Human experience is infinite. You could experience anything. You could have the most ratchet, traumatizing shit happen to you, and you'll have to continue your life. You'll have to keep on going. You see, everybody, realize that wood is rarer than diamonds when it comes to the universe. Life is precious. Regardless your situation, regardless of what's wrong, you're here. You're alive. You have a chance to make it better. Whether you can believe that or not, you'll make it. You may not be okay, but I promise that everything will be all right. You just have to press the button. You just got to do what you got to do, and I promise it will all come forth. I understand how it feels the desire to not exist, the desire to have never been born. I know how it feels to exempt the pain, to just want to be able to exempt the pain from everybody, because the truth is, everyone, when you're in that state, you're thinking of yourself only. You're not thinking of the other people, the people that have met you, the people that have interacted with you. Their lives will be changed forever. It won't just be you who's gone. And you're probably asking the question, Matthew, how do you combat the feeling of death, of the feelings of sadness and depression and anxiety and all this different crap? You know what you do, everybody? The truth? You cry. You cry. Because you're gonna die someday. One day you're not going to be here. You see, everybody, I don't believe we were put here to be remembered. I believe we were put here to simply feel it while we still can. So that's exactly what I'll try to do. You see, I might not know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to live every second of it. Try to. Try my best to try my best. That's all any of us can really do anyway. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Thank you for listening to me rant about my feelings and my life or whatever. And thank you specifically for watching my channel and supporting me. It's crazy that I could actually sit here and do this. And, before I make my videos, I'm usually very nervous. I think about everything that could go wrong and all the different things, whatever. I don't run my videos by a script or anything. I kind of just sit and I make and I do, and whatever happens, and I don't know. Just thank you. Everybody. You specifically, not everybody, you. Specifically watching the video right now, making it to this section, thank you. If you could do one thing for me, stay positive. Life's hard. But as soon as you accept that life is hard, it becomes not that hard. The acceptance of a negative experience is itself a positive one. So get out there.